Hi, y'all. It's astrology time. I'm so excited to be here with you today for this week ahead update because the retrogrades are ending. We have Mercury retrograde ending on Monday, and we have Venus retrograde ending after the full moon on Saturday, April 12th. So, just a brief rundown of the transits for the month as well, because a few of y'all have asked me about the transits of the month. Those are the major things. We have Mercury stationing direct on the 7th, tomorrow. We have Venus stationing direct on the 12th, Saturday, right after the full moon, a few hours after, well, 1 hour actually, 1 hour, 30 minutes after, 40 minutes after the full moon in Libra. We have Saturday evening. And then we have Mercury going back into Aries on April 15th. We have Mars entering Leo again on the 17th. I believe Mars originally went into Leo around the end of November or early December, and then that's when it went retrograde. So we have Mars entering Leo again on the 17th, and then Taurus season begins on the 19th this year. And then the next major thing we have is Venus entering Aries on the 30th. So this whole month will really be an integration of everything that came up during the retrograde period, Mars retrograde included. We're really bringing all of that to a final close so we can begin anew with that energy and really integrate what was brought up, integrate what we wanted to change, what we wanted to reevaluate and shift so we can move forward with that in our lives. So we're going to see that begin this week in a really big way. I just got my office set up finally after being in my new place for like 2.5 months. I finally got my office set up. So I'm really, really stoked about that. Mars retrograde had everything really stalled in terms of my home, and the move especially fell into that for me personally. So yeah, we'll really start to see a lot of that wrap up this week and especially this month. So let's get into the horoscopes for each rising sign. We're going to start with Aries, as always. Aries, this week we start off with the moon in your fifth house. So you might be feeling a lot more creative. You might have this burst of energy as it relates to like the work you've been doing on yourself. You might feel this reinvigoration of your sense of self and or your identity on Monday and Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, the moon moves into your sixth house of work, of day-to-day health routines. So you might be focused on that. You might be focused on organizing your day differently or planning out your days differently, scheduling stuff, just kind of focused on like mundane tasks. You might also have on Thursday some sort of like mental breakthrough or mental clarity around your routine or your health, mental or physical health, or both, and how you're really needing to bring those into greater balance for yourself, Aries. Depending on where your rising sign is in Aries, this week is going to be a huge week of illuminating any leftover wounds as it relates to your identity, your appearance, your sense of self, really highlighting those wounds so you can heal them and move on from them and not take them with you into this new chapter that we're all embarking on. Then we have the moon in Libra on Friday in your seventh house, Aries. So you might be focused on your relationships. You might be focused on other people. You might be socializing quite a bit this weekend, but just watch out for the full moon energy. It's going to be quite intense on Saturday evening, as it will be in your first and seventh houses. So there could be some radical clarity around your identity, around your sense of self, as it relates to relationships or how you're making changes there, or that healing that came up earlier in the week, those wounds that came up earlier in the week for you to really look at and heal, and close out the chapter of, so that you don't take them with you into whatever is beginning for you, Aries. And then on Sunday, just a little bit more of that clearing as the moon continues to move through your seventh house, continues to move through Libra. And then later in the day on Sunday, the moon will move into your eighth house in Scorpio. So you might be feeling like hermiting towards the end of the weekend. It might be, because of what was brought up during the full moon, things might feel really intense for you, Aries. So you might really be just taking some time to yourself to recuperate and recharge your energy. Okay, Taurus, we start the week off on Monday with the moon in your fourth house. So you might be really focused on your home, your family life, subconscious things as well could be coming up depending on what you have in Taurus or other fixed signs. There could be stuff, difficult conversations or challenges, conflicts coming up that you are needing to really reframe in order to still have your joy. And Mercury retrograde is going direct in your 11th house, so you might be getting clarity over your long-term goals, your long-term visions. Same with Venus retrograde when that ends on the weekend. But the first part of the week, you might just be really focused on your internal world more so than your external world. Especially on Tuesday, there might be some type of breakthrough or change that happens relating to your identity or your home. This might be like a subconscious belief or block that was really just had you feeling down, coming to light. So you really like feel like you're moving on from it. Then Wednesday, the moon moves into your fifth house, into Virgo. This could really have you focused on a creative project or creative pursuits in general, like really refining stuff. Like an example is if you're writing a book or working on a book, like you're really going to be focused on the editing process. Is this laid out the way I want it to be? Like really analyzing how that's showing up for you, making refinements as it's needed to a creative project. You might even realize like there's a big release that needs to happen within perfectionistic tendencies or over analytical tendencies on Thursday as the moon moves over the south node and opposite everything that's in Pisces right now. So it's really going to ask you to look at the way that you've been maybe living from the mind that hasn't really supported your creative pursuits or your long-term visions or goals, or how you want to contribute your gifts to your community or your spiritual pursuits, and how you need to like really release those tendencies to rely on the mind on Thursday. Friday, the moon moves into Libra in your sixth house. You might be focused on your health, your day-to-day routines. There might be some major healing that comes up with the full moon on Saturday around that, of realizing there's something you need to change about how you're taking care of your mental or physical health, or again, like maybe a block or a wound that came up earlier in the week is like getting more illumination so that you really clear it out, so that you really fully heal it, and that it doesn't continue to run in the background of your life unawares. And then, like I already mentioned, Venus goes direct on this day too, so you might be getting more clarity around your values or financial picture. Sunday, the moon continues to move through Libra, although later in the day on Sunday, it will move into Scorpio. So things might start to feel a little intense on Sunday, maybe within your relationships. There might be some major transformation that happens in your relationships and your career through a conflict or a challenge that comes up in either area. So just watch out for that. I would say midday on Sunday, there could be some friction there, but it ultimately will expand you. So yeah, that's the week for you, Taurus. Hi, petite. Oh, thank you. This shade of red looks a lot different on camera than it does in person. It's more of like an orangey red, but it looks like super red on camera. Okay, let's see. Gemini. Gemini, we start the week off with the moon in your third house. You might be feeling a lot more expressive and creative and like wanting to share your ideas, communicate more, or socialize, or just kind of like you might just be feeling more fun and playful. And that might bring up something in your a long-term goal or vision that you have for yourself around a new beginning you're starting there, or a relationship with social media is changing through maybe consistency of posting. You're starting to realize like, oh, like this is giving me a lot more confidence, or whatever the case may be. There's something that is going to heal you through the action that you're taking on Monday. And then Tuesday, we have the moon moving into your fourth house, into Virgo. So this could really have you focused on home, family, although your career it might feel like there's a push and pull between your home and your career life, especially on Thursday. But before that, on Wednesday, there could be some friction between your sense of self, your identity. There could be some identity thing that comes up, like you're really feeling yourself, and then something happens in your home to really question yourself and kind of like, has you questioning things. It feels like there's a conflict between your home and yourself. That maybe also shows up in your career, like I said, on Thursday, like this push and pull energy. And you might be realizing how some structures or schedules or routines need to really be let go of in your home life so that you can expand in your career, because that's really where everything is focused for you right now, Gemini. Is your reputation, is your creative pursuits and your passions, and what you're putting out to the world to share your gifts with the world. And that you're going to get a lot of clarity around that as these planets go direct this week as well. And then on Friday, the moon moves into your fifth house. So you might be feeling a little bit more creative. You maybe work through those blocks or those challenges, conflicts that happen Wednesday and Thursday. And Friday has you feeling just a little bit more creative, a little bit more spacious when it comes to what you're sharing, what you're, putting out there into the world that is a passion, that is a creative passion. That might also be something big that comes up around the full moon for you, Gemini, on Saturday, right before Venus goes direct in your 10th house. There might this be this illumination of something you've been working on or something you've been wanting clarity around, that really all comes together like later in the day on Saturday. And then Sunday, the moon moves into your sixth house of work, of day-to-day routine, health. So you might be making some transformations or some changes there as it relates to your belief systems, as it relates to your philosophies of life, or something that has just really changed your perception of the world around you, your perspective of the world around you. You might also be feeling at odds with whether or not to pursue an international trip or higher education as it relates to what you're wanting to do. So that is the week for you, Gemini. Okay, Cancer rising. We start the week off with the moon in your second house, so you might really be focused on your money at the start of the week, Cancer, and maybe on like how you can make changes there, that really are going to have you more in this playful, joyful energy, and more so doing things that you love in order to make money. There might be a lot of healing around that on Monday as well, as it is harmonizing with what's in Aries in your 10th house at the moment. And then on Tuesday, the moon in Virgo moves into Virgo into your third house. So you might be more focused on your day to day, just errands, like organizing stuff. It might be like a couple days, Tuesday and Wednesday, of just like running errands and like really getting your ducks in a row is the phrase that I'm getting randomly. But it's really about organizing, about restructuring, about refining what you're kind of doing in your day to day, and how you're going about that. Maybe if you like went on this big international trip and you're coming back home now, it's kind of like, okay, well, how do I how do I ground back into my routine? What needs taken care of? You're just kind of like organizing and restructuring a lot of things, Tuesday, Wednesday, and most of Thursday as well. On Wednesday, there might be some challenge or friction between that and a spiritual pursuit or a subconscious belief. There's something you might be going through a really big spiritual awakening, Cancer, over the last year or so, that's really like coming to a head right now, and there might be something frustrating around that happens on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, there could be a big release in terms of where you've been going on a daily basis, who you've been talking to, what you've been doing. Through restructuring and organizing, you might have realized, like, oh, I really want to go about this differently. And maybe when Mercury went direct on Monday, you got that clarity as well, but it's just more coming together towards the end of the week. But especially on Thursday, as we have the moon on the south node in your third house, it's like this big release of maybe even like a belief system around perfectionism or wanting to do something perfectly, or being overcritical of yourself, being overly analytical about something that you're wanting to create or bring into your career or make a change in your career. And it's like you're realizing, oh, I really need to see this differently from a place of like faith and trust and intuition as opposed to the logical mind. Friday, the moon moves into Libra in your fourth house, and you're really focused on your home. You're really focused on maybe some subconscious things that came up, like I said, the day before. There could just be a big need to hermit during the full moon, as it will be in your fourth and 10th houses. You might get clarity around something to do or change in your career, but the major focus is going to be like on your home in some way. You might be planning a move or realizing you want to move or redecorate or something to do with your home and maybe a relationship in your home if you live with somebody, or there's, some dynamic there at play that you're getting clarity around on Saturday with the full moon. And then as Venus goes direct afterwards. On Sunday, there could be a big transformation in terms of your creative projects or a subconscious belief. Again, there's just a lot of subconscious psychological healing happening for you right now, Cancer, and that might all come to a head after the full moon on Sunday as the moon moves into your fifth house into Scorpio. But it might be something that you really learn to channel into creativity instead of letting yourself spiral from it. So that's the week for you, Cancer. Big emotional shifts. Leo rising. We start the week off with the moon in your first house. So you really might be feeling yourself at the start of the week, Leo, like really focused on you, your appearance, what you're putting out into the world, what you're creating. There might be some sort of healing that happens through just a perspective shift as well, or something that you're learning really shifts how you're showing up in your day to day. Tuesday, the moon moves into Virgo in your second house. You might be really focused on organizing your finances, restructuring your finances, maybe just reevaluating your budget or where your money's going and where you're wanting it to go. Is it going to the places you want it to go? Or if not, it's making changes there. There could be some breakthrough around that on Wednesday as the moon in your second house challenges Jupiter in your 11th house. There could be some realization of like, oh, actually, my finances right now don't line up with my future goals that I have for myself, and I need to make changes there. And you could get a lot more clarity around that on Thursday as the moon moves over your south node in the second house. You're releasing some or refining some major thing within your money, within your resources. And that you might have gotten clarity as Mercury went direct on Monday too, about that, but it all kind of comes to a head on Thursday. And then, especially, I mean, this whole week, it's really a big focus for you, Leo rising, as you have these things going direct, Mercury and Venus going direct in your eighth house of other people's resources. You might also be like really scrambling to get all your tax stuff together, kind of thing, too. But really, either way, just really focus on your money. Then on Friday, the focus kind of shifts a little bit into your third house as the moon moves into Libra there. Really focused on your day-to-day errands and like, okay, am I talking to the people on a daily basis I want to be that's supporting my long-term goals? Am I going to the places that I want to be that's supporting my long-term goals? All this kind of focus on like your long-term vision and if your kind of daily habits and things and how you're going about life is really contributing to that long-term vision or not, if you need to make some shifts there. That might be a big illumination that you get with the full moon as well on Saturday, right before Venus goes direct too. I feel like there's just a lot of clarity that's going to come up for you on Saturday, Leo, of like, okay, this is actually how I want to go about this. Healing some major maybe block as well that was you didn't realize was there and it comes up around this full moon and you're like, oh, this has kind of been why I've struggled with money or why I keep going into debt or whatever it is. And you're really clearing it so that you don't take it with you into this new beginning, and that it doesn't wreck your long-term goals. And then on Sunday, the moon moves into Scorpio in your fourth house. So you might be really just focused on your home, your family life, or again, like really looking at those subconscious beliefs that came up. There could be a challenge or a conflict that comes up through a relationship. Or just an other person in your life that brings up things. It could be a family member that really challenges you, that really like has you kind of just feeling really emotionally tumultuous. It doesn't feel like Sunday afternoon is going to be a lot of comfy feelings for you, Leo. It feels like it could be a challenging kind of day, but it ultimately will contribute to your growth in these areas of your life. It might even benefit your career in some way. So just really choose to see it, even though it's gonna suck in the moment. Choose to see it as something that is ultimately positive for you, because it will be. I feel like, Leo, and that's the week for you. Okay, Virgo rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 12th house. This could feel just kind of like there's a lot of subconscious stuff coming up. There's a lot of like healing happening there. There's a lot of maybe you're really focused on your spiritual practices and harnessing your intuition in some new ways or something like that, because that feels like the big focus on Monday. And there could be some sort of healing or money block that's released through that as well, as it is harmonizing with Chiron and the sun in your eighth house of other people's resources. So there could be a big like block that's released through your subconscious around money or anything like that related to resources. Then on Tuesday, the moon moves into your first house. Um, so you might be feeling more sensitive. Actually, you might be feeling really faced with ways that you've maybe been overly critical or overly critical on yourself, overly analytic, overly anal analytical about your sense of self, and really about your identity. There could be a big shift there as we get later on into the week, especially maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, as you have the moon challenging Jupiter in your 10th house on Wednesday, Virgo. This could be a big release that happens, or a big realization that happens around maybe being seen and how to show up, sharing your ideas and your information in the way that you want in your career. But there might be something that challenges that. So that it comes to an awareness and a head so that you can really like look at it, reframe it, and shift any like tendencies of perfectionism or being overly self-critical, like I said. Then you could just further feel the release of that on Thursday as the moon moves over the south node in your first house and opposite everything that's in Pisces right now. There could have been a lot of clarity that came through on Monday or around Monday when Mercury went direct in your area of relationships, maybe about a relationship itself or just your connection to other people in your life and how you're showing up. You want to show up differently in those connections. And then that's really going to solidify on Thursday as the moon moves over the south node in your first house. So there could be a big release of an old identity so that you step into a new identity and you approach relationships differently because of this. That could also be a big theme of the full moon as we have Mercury going direct or Venus going direct in your seventh house right after the full moon. But Friday, the focus is going to be on your money. You might be organizing your finances differently or just getting new ideas about how to bring money in. That is related to that block that kind of came up earlier in the week to reframe, to see differently, and to really have this more light-hearted way that you're sharing yourself, this more playful way that you're showing up in the world as opposed to the really like over analytical perfectionistic tendencies. Again, could be a big theme of the full moon as well, because that might be affecting your resources, might be affecting your money. This fear of being seen or this fear of being seen as imperfect, right? Or having this like pressure on how you're seen, how you're perceived in the public space. So you might get a lot of clarity around that on the full moon Saturday evening. And then, like I said, as well as Venus goes direct later, right after the full moon. A lot of healing happening for you, Virgo, this week in terms of your resources and your identity. Then on Sunday, the moon moves into your third house, and this could just bring a breakthrough around what you're doing on a daily basis that's contributing to your work goals or your long-term vision. There could be a major transformation that happens through something that feels challenging or conflicting at first. Midday on Sunday, like just uncomfy emotions and feelings coming up around whatever else was coming up this whole kind of week. So a lot of just healing this week for you, Virgo, wrapping up old chapters so that you can really step into something new for yourself with none of the old. So that is the week for you, Virgo. Okay, Libra risings. We start the week off on Monday with the moon in your 11th house. So you could be hanging out with friends this day. It could just be like a really fun, lighthearted day where you might even get clarity around your long-term goals or a community, maybe wanting to just change how you're showing up on social media, if you're wanting to share yourself more, that kind of thing. There could be a lot of healing that happens in terms of that maybe comes through someone in your life. That's a friend, that's a partner, it's going to be some close relationship that you have in this breakthrough, this clarity on Monday that comes later in the day on Monday. Then on Tuesday, the moon moves in your 12th house. You might be feeling like low energy Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Libra. I know I always feel a little bit just off when the moon is in my 12th house. It's kind of like this very liminal space. It's like this very just in between energy. It feels really spacey for me. So you might be feeling that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, especially as on Wednesday, there's this challenge that comes up between your subconscious, what's maybe like hidden from your awareness, and then something in your belief system, right? So you might get this something that challenges you on Wednesday to look at a belief system you maybe didn't know was still there or still affecting you in some way. That maybe changes your perspective of life or really changes your how you're going about life. Then on Thursday, that kind of comes to a head as well. There might be a big release of emotion that you didn't expect on Thursday, Libra, as the moon moves over the south node and opposite everything in your sixth house. This could also be a big time of like just realizing how you need to take better care of your mental or physical health and what you need in order to support those changes at a, like I said, whether it's a physical level, needing to work out more, or it's a mental level, needing to talk to somebody to really reframe beliefs that have been, kind of running your life in ways that you don't want them to be. And then on Friday, Libra, the moon moves into your first house. So you could be feeling a little bit more sensitive. You could be feeling just more yourself. There could be this new integration that happens emotionally from everything that came up earlier in the week. And you're really just feeling more embodied in it. You're feeling like it really has integrated fully as we get into the weekend. And then the full moon on Saturday is in your first and seventh houses. So this could be a big revelation or illumination of maybe how you want to change the way you're going about relationships or showing up differently in relationships. Again, related to that healing that came up earlier in the week. Stepping into a new version of yourself, stepping into a new identity. How does that like really affect the way you're showing up in your relationships? There could be some big healing or breakthrough that happens there on Saturday for you, Libra. And then Venus going direct and Mercury having gone direct earlier in the week, both in your sixth house really gives you a lot of clarity over, like I was saying, your physical kind of health and the routines you have at play to support that, and also your mental health, and how you're balancing the two, how you're really not just focusing all the way on your body or focusing all the way on your spirituality and your mental health, but really having or trying to have balance between how you're taking care of those two parts of your health. And then on Sunday, the moon moves into your second house. So you could be focused on money beginning on Sunday, making some type of transformation there. There could be some new creative pursuit you're doing, you're launching, you're sharing with the world in order to make more money kind of thing. But there maybe is a creative block that comes up or a challenge or conflict that comes up that ultimately propels you to do it differently or propels some type of evolution in order to see it differently or shift any emotions that maybe are there around the thing itself. So that's the week for you, Libra. Okay, Scorpio rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 10th house, so you could be really focused on your career the first couple of days of the week, Scorpio, maybe even like today and tomorrow, Sunday, Monday. Big focus on your career, on your reputation, maybe even like you're out and about in the world, talking with people, meeting new people kind of thing. Feels like you're really just like living it up the first couple of days of the week, although there may be some just wounds that you didn't expect that get poked from this as well. All related to your work, all related to your reputation and your career, but I ultimately do feel like they'll be positive for you to have the awareness around and then shift them. Then on Tuesday, Scorpio, the moon moves into your 11th house of social media, of long-term goals, visions, your community as well. So you might be just really reevaluating your long-term goals, your vision. You might be redoing your vision board or something, and just realizing like, oh, I thought this is what I wanted at the beginning of the year, and it's actually like not what I want. So I'm making changes or reevaluations there. This could come to a head. There could be some type of conflict or challenge that happens on Wednesday in your resources. Maybe it's like, um, you got an unexpected tax bill or something like that, and you're really having to like reassess your long-term visions and your long-term goals to see if they really align with whatever this conflict or this challenge is that comes up. And then there could be a big release of that energy on Thursday. This could even be just like a mental block of like, okay, maybe you really want something in your life, but you're like, I don't think I could have it, or that's not realistic. Like you're really choosing to not view things that way anymore, and you're really choosing to change your perspective of like, no, I can actually have anything that I want. And if I want something, I'm probably meant to have it because I wouldn't want it if it wasn't meant for me, right? So that's what it feels like. There's a big shift, an emotional release happening around for you, Scorpio, on Wednesday and Thursday. And then later in the day on Thursday, but mostly Friday, the moon moves through your 12th house in Libra. So there might be some, again, just deeper emotional work that's happening for you on Thursday and Friday, big release of emotions or mental blocks that were there. You might even be getting clarity about a creative project or passion or pursuit in some sort of way, Scorpio, as we had Mercury go direct in your fifth house. We're going to have Venus go direct there on Saturday. So there could be this really big epiphany or intuitive download about a creative project or passion that you're pursuing. And then on Friday with the full moon, it's going to be in your 12th and 6th houses. So there could be this big healing that happens for you, Scorpio, in terms of your physical health or your mental health or both, or really just realizing like, oh, this like subconscious belief or this belief from childhood has really been affecting me and I don't want it to do that anymore. So you're really looking at these wounds that maybe you didn't realize were there before, but they're illuminated with this full moon. It could come through a relationship as well. It could come through somebody in your life that mirrors this to you that doesn't feel super comfortable, but it's what needs to come up in order for you to really transform it and alchemize it as you do, Scorpio. And then on Sunday, the moon moves into your first house. So you might be feeling more just emotionally sensitive on Sunday. There might be some big thing that triggers you in terms of your family or your home situation that maybe gives you clarity on this work project or work pursuit, or again, what you're really doing or making changes to as it relates to your vision that you have for yourself. And that's the week for you, Scorpio. Okay, Sagittarius. The week starts off on Monday with the moon in your ninth house of international travels, affairs, perspectives of life, higher education. So you could be just really gaining a lot of clarity from one or all of those things that maybe you have done recently. Maybe you went somewhere and just it gave you a new perspective on life. And there's a lot of healing that happened, especially as it relates to your creativity. Like I feel like there's really a lot of blocks that are loosening, that are shifting in terms of what you're doing for, for a passion, what feels like a really true creative passion for you, Sagittarius. There's a lot of big shifts happening in just how you're seeing life differently through whatever has been occurring for you. Um, that's causing these shifts to take place in your personal life. Then on Tuesday, we have the moon moving through your 10th house into Virgo. So you could be focused on applying these breakthroughs to your career, maybe making refinements or changes to your schedule, wanting to work less, wanting to take care of yourself more, wanting to really schedule in time for these creative passions. You're realizing you want to prioritize, that kind of thing. But there could be some friction or tension that happens on Wednesday in your career directly related to a relationship, whether it's like a client is really unhappy and whatever, posts a negative review about you or something. That's just one example. But it's going to be something that really challenges you to look at your limiting beliefs in your career differently, your limiting beliefs as it relates to how you work with others, how you how you connect with others differently, and really just being more gentle with yourself through everything that is happening. Then there could be some big release on Thursday that happens in your career of like realizing like, oh, this view of wanting to do it this perfect way has really been holding me back and I need to let go of that. And so you're really stepping into this new relationship with how you are sharing yourself, Sagittarius, how you're really sharing your creative gifts and your passions with the world. That might even be what the Mercury and Venus retrogrades have been showing you and what you're getting more clarity around as they go direct this week. And then on Friday, the moon moves through Libra in your 11th house. You might be hanging out with friends. You might just be refining your long-term visions and goals as it relates to what came up earlier in the week, or changing how you show up on social media as it relates to what happened earlier in the week. There's these big kind of shifts that are happening because of the full moon as well. You might be getting this big illumination around all of those things and how they're playing out in your day-to-day life, and maybe ways that you don't want them to. So it's you're getting this clarity so you can make the changes that you need, Sagittarius. And like I said, you might be getting more clarity as Venus goes direct after the full moon on Saturday as well. It could be kind of an intense day. But I feel like you're going to channel whatever happens into that creative passion that you realize you want to spend more time on. And then on Sunday, Sagittarius, the moon moves into your 12th house. This could be a good day to spend time with that creative project or passion. You might be feeling called to hermit after the full moon because of what it brought up or just how intense it was for you. There might just be some needed alone time after that. And then there could be some communication block that happens as well, or conflict or challenge within your communication on Sunday, that you're realizing like, oh, I really need to like shift the way I'm talking about this, or I need to shift the way I'm communicating this thing, whatever it is. It might be related to something from your childhood, even that you didn't realize was still at play, and how you're expressing yourself and communicating and relating to other people. So that's the week for you, Sagittarius. Capricorn, we start the week off on Monday with the moon in your eighth house. So you might be really focused on your resources. You might be focused on just getting your financial picture together. There's a lot of change happening in your finances, whether it's starting a new job or wanting to just have a new career or a new business kind of thing. You're realizing there needs to be more organizational stuff around that put into place. And that's a really big focus of this week for you in general, Capricorn. Something you might even be realizing you need to do as Mercury goes direct. And then on Tuesday, we have the moon moving through your ninth house in Virgo. So again, restructuring, refining, analyzing, maybe, investing in some sort of education or traveling somewhere to be mentored by someone or something like that so you can learn these skills you want to master and bring into what you're doing, and the changes that you're making. And then on Thursday, there could be some big release as it relates to that. Maybe you thought you wanted to move abroad and you're like, oh, that actually doesn't support what I want to do. That doesn't support my long-term goals or my visions or what I'm really putting out into the world. Capricorn, there's a lot of focus on your inner world. So there's a lot of focus on your how you're communicating, your belief systems, your perspectives of life, and really kind of standing into your own, forming your own opinions, your own ideas through your own pursuits or research, and kind of releasing any conditioning that may be still affecting you in a lot of big ways that you didn't realize. Friday, Capricorn, the moon moves into your 10th house, so you're going to be really focused on your career and what you're putting out into the world. You might be socializing or networking kind of thing as well through the weekend. That might also be a big theme of the full moon for you, as it will be in this area of your chart, illuminating your career, and also maybe that you need to move in order to better support your career, or you just need to change like your home in some way, or maybe belief systems that were passed down through childhood or parenting, that you need to really reevaluate and look at as it relates to like what you're doing in your career and what you really want to, what you're realizing you want to share there, and getting that clarity around. I feel like, again, like your communication style has really changed with these retrogrades, and you're approaching things a lot differently in terms of your creativity and how you're sharing yourself with the world. And then on Sunday, the moon moves into your 11th house, into Scorpio. It also challenges Pluto in your second house. So this could be some breakthrough around money, what as it relates to everything that came up earlier in the week of like, okay, I really want to go about this differently because this is actually more aligned with my values. This is more aligned with my goals. This is more along the lines of what I want to do, what my future self wants, kind of thing. You're realizing like there needs to be a big transformation, in terms of how you're just going about your external life that's related to what's coming up internally. Does that make sense? So that is the week for you, Capricorn. Okay, Aquarius rising. We start the week off with the moon in your seventh house. You could be really focused on your relationships at the start of the week, um, going out with friends, going on a date or something like that, or just like having fun with the people that are around you, or just wanting to have more playful, more fun people around you and setting intentions to create that in your life. Then on Tuesday, the moon moves into your eighth house. So you could be really focused on your resources, your money. I feel like Aquarius, you're getting a lot of clarity around how you want to make money and maybe going about it in a different way than you had been. And that might come to a head on Thursday as we have the moon moving over the south node in your eighth house and opposite everything that's in Pisces. We just had Mercury go direct in your second house. So you might be getting a lot of clarity this week on how you want to make money and how you can go about that. Might even be related to some new creative passion or some creative passion you may have had for a while and you didn't realize it can make you money. But now you're like, hey, how do I look at my career differently? How do I look at how I'm making money differently? Approach it differently, to have a new beginning there. And you might be getting a lot of clarity around that this week, Aquarius, and how you can make money that's more aligned with your spiritual pursuits or gifts or creative passions. And then on Friday, the moon moves into Libra in your ninth house. So, again, there might just be big shifts that happen in your belief system that are relating to how you're making money. Like if you had really been raised to think that a 9 to 5 is the only way you could make money, there's going to be these big things that come to a head this week or towards the end of the week, especially with this full moon, that ask you to look at that differently. Are there other ways you could go about creating financial security for yourself? Are there other ways you could go about having a job, than just the traditional ways? So there might be a lot of clarity that comes up for you around that this weekend, Aquarius, maybe even through a connection you have in your life or a relationship in some way. And kind of asks you to embrace more of a pioneer, innovator, um, self-starter mindset when it comes to whatever this is. And then right after the full moon, we have Venus going direct in your second house too, which again can bring that clarity of like, okay, this is how I want to make money. This is aligned with my values. And then on Sunday, the moon moves into Scorpio in your 10th house, again, giving more clarity around your career. There might be something that challenges you to change something about your identity or how you're viewing yourself, right? If you've always viewed yourself as someone who works a 9 to 5 or works for corporate, it's like, okay, there is a need to shift that. There's a need to transform that, so that you really are aligned with what's meant for you in terms of making money and in terms of sharing yourself with the world, your gifts with the world, and showing up in a way that feels more in alignment, like I said, with your values and how you really want to be seen in the world. But there might be some, again, a conflict or a challenge, whether it's fears, whether it's limiting beliefs that come up on Sunday that challenge that in you. And that's the week for you, Aquarius. Okay, Pisces. We start the week off with the moon in your sixth house, Pisces. So you might be really focused on your physical health the start of the week. Maybe just approaching it differently. If maybe taking a dance class or doing something that's really fun that also helps you to take care of your body better. There might be some major healing around that in terms of your money too. Like, oh, the money comes in to be able to support you in doing something that's more fun for you. Or there's a lot of focus on you, Pisces, the identity shifts, how that's calling in new forms, new ways of making money, and then how your day-to-day routine or your overall like physical health is tied into that or playing into that as well. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, the moon moves through your seventh house. So you might be really focused, Pisces, on your relationships, on the other people in your life. Maybe having, like, who do you want to have around you? Do you want to put yourself somehow into a supportive community, whether it's through taking pottery classes or going to dance classes or whatever it is that really feels fun for you, but also feels healthy, and somehow is going to play into like your money in a positive, healing way. There might be something that challenges your relationships. There might be something that comes up with a family member or somebody you live with. Something happens in your home that challenges a relationship or something like that. There could just be friction or a challenge there between your home and your relationships on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, there could be a big release, whether it's like realizing that you want to kind of approach relationships differently, or you want to there might be some big breakthrough or some big talk that happens with an important relationship in your life of like, okay, we really have to go about this differently, and that clarity might have come earlier in the week when Mercury went direct, but there's finally like an emotional way to release it on Thursday versus just being in the head about it like, oh, logically I know how to do this, but it comes through in the emotion, comes through in the body on Thursday of like a big release in terms of that. And then on Friday, the moon moves into your eighth house. So again, really focused on money for you, Pisces. It's going to be a theme of the full moon that we have on Saturday evening, because it is going to be in your eighth house of resources, of taxes, of debt. So you might be getting clarity on how to pay off some debt, or taking out a loan in order to start a new business or something like that, or just getting an investor to help you start this new business that's really more aligned with you, more aligned with your values, more aligned with your energy, your spiritual creative gifts as well, that you've gotten a lot of clarity on this week, maybe even with the retrogrades too. That's kind of just like coming to a head this whole week. And then on Sunday, the moon moves into your ninth house, into Scorpio. So there could be some really big belief system shifts. Maybe like if you've always seen yourself as a starving artist, but yet you're sharing your art is what you want to do, like really shifting that belief of like, oh, I can't actually like support myself as being an artist. I can support myself with creative or spiritual gifts, and that's totally possible for me. So there feels like a lot of healing happening in that area for you, Pisces, this whole week, really with the full moon, like I said, over the weekend, of like this big healing around your money, your resources, how you're viewing all those things in your life, and the action steps you're taking to have a new beginning with that. So that's the week for you, Pisces. And that is everybody. If you got to watch your rising sign, post in the comments, post how it resonated with you. I love to hear that. This week felt a little weird and a little, I don't know if it's Mercury about to go direct. I always feel like when Mercury's about to go direct, it is the like most challenging time of Mercury retrograde. The whole like last 5 days of Mercury retrograde are always most challenging for me. So I don't even know if what I said like hits anybody. So let me know. Please let me know if it resonated with you. And yeah, I do feel really good about this week and just things moving forward again, because these planets are going direct, and especially the full moon, we have wrapping up a big 2-year cycle. So it feels like a lot of positive change is happening long term, even if there are a lot of emotional just things that happen in the short term that don't feel super comfortable to face or to look at or to feel. But ultimately, I do feel they will be positive. So that's what I have for y'all. Enjoy the week. Again, let me check in and let me know how it went. Um, and I love you so much. I will see you next time. Bye.